The autumn leaves danced outside the cafe window as David Matthews adjusted his daughter's small coat. At 7 years old, Emma had her mother's gentle eyes and an endless curiosity about the world around her. "Just a quick lunch, sweetheart," David said softly, guiding her to their usual corner table. Running a company meant precious little time with Emma, but Saturday lunches had become their sacred ritual. Emma swung her legs beneath the chair, studying the menu with the seriousness of a scholar. "Can I have the grilled cheese, Daddy? With the curly fries?" David smiled, remembering how his own father used to indulge his simple pleasures. "Of course, honey." As they waited for their order, Emma's attention drifted to the window. Outside, an elderly woman sat on a weathered bench, her thin frame hunched against the cool October air. Her clothes were clean but worn, and she clutched a small frayed purse. "Daddy," Emma whispered, tugging his sleeve. "That lady?" She looked sad. David followed his daughter's gaze. The woman appeared to be in her 70s with silver hair carefully brushed despite her circumstances. She watched passers-by with patient eyes, occasionally glancing toward the cafe with what looked like longing. Their food arrived, and Emma immediately brightened at her golden grilled cheese. But after just one bite, she looked up at her father with those earnest eyes that reminded him so much of his late wife. "Daddy, she looks hungry. Can I share my food for her?" David paused, his coffee cup halfway to his lips. In the rush of board meetings and quarterly reports, he'd almost forgotten how clearly children could see the world's needs. Emma's innocent question stirred something deep in his chest, a reminder of the values his own parents had tried to instill. "Are you sure, sweetheart? You love grilled cheese." Emma nodded solemnly. "Mama used to say sharing makes food taste better. Remember?" The memory hit David like a gentle wave. Sarah had indeed said that, usually while serving extra helpings to unexpected dinner guests. Their home had always been a place where neighbors felt welcome, where an empty stomach never went unfilled. "Yes, honey." She did say that. David's voice carried the warmth of remembrance. "Would you like me to invite her in?" Emma's face lit up with pure joy. "Could we, Daddy, really?" David walked to the cafe door, his heart beating with nervous kindness. The woman looked up as he approached, her eyes wary but hopeful. "Ma'am, I'm David. My daughter and I wondered if you'd like to join us for lunch." The woman's name was Margaret. She'd been a teacher for 40 years before retirement, and circumstances beyond her control had led her to lean on the kindness of strangers. Her voice carried the dignity that comes from a life spent nurturing others. "I couldn't impose," she said gently. "Please," David replied. "It would be our honor. Emma specifically asked to share her meal with you." Margaret's eyes misted as she looked through the window at the little girl, who waved enthusiastically from their table. Inside the cafe, Emma chattered easily with Margaret, asking about her favorite books and sharing stories about school. The elderly woman's face transformed with each smile, years seeming to melt away as she engaged with the child's innocent enthusiasm. "You know, Emma," Margaret said as they shared the grilled cheese, "I used to have a little girl just like you. She's all grown up now, with children of her own in another state." David found himself moved by the woman's quiet grace, by the way she savored each bite not just of food, but of companionship. This was what his wife had meant about sharing, making food taste better. It wasn't about the meal, but about the connection. As they finished eating, David quietly arranged for Margaret to take home additional meals for the coming days. But more than that, he found himself genuinely interested in her stories, her wisdom earned through decades of teaching and living. "Thank you," Margaret whispered as they prepared to part ways. "Not just for the food, but for seeing me, for treating me like I matter." Emma hugged Margaret goodbye, and David realized his daughter had just taught him something profound about the courage it takes to act on compassion. Walking home, Emma slipped her small hand into his. "Daddy, I'm glad we shared our lunch." "Me too, sweetheart," David replied, squeezing her hand gently. "Me too." That evening, as David tucked Emma into bed, she looked up at him with sleepy eyes. "Do you think Margaret is warm tonight?" "I think she's warmer than she was this morning, thanks to you," David said, brushing her hair from her forehead. In the weeks that followed, Saturday lunches took on new meaning. Margaret became a regular guest, sharing stories and laughter that enriched both their lives. Emma learned about kindness through action, while David rediscovered the joy of seeing the world through his daughter's compassionate eyes. Sometimes the greatest lessons come from the smallest teachers, and the most profound wisdom emerges from the simplest acts of love.